Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 97, A Ship Full of Shivers. The episode begins with Ash and the gang on Lapras as usual, on their way to the next island, being Moral Island, and Ash is admiring the 2 badges that he currently has, excited to get the next one. Tracy informs him that he only needs 2 more to compete in the Orange League, and Ash proudly declares that he was going to win this time as they approach Moral Island and decide to stop there for the night, as it was getting dark. They stop by the Pokemon Center to rest, and Ash takes the opportunity to phone Professor Oak on one of the computers and inform him of his progress so far. When Ash mentions that he only needs 2 more badges to enter the Orange League, this reminds Oak of a recent news story of an Orange League trophy that someone won 300 years ago has been uncovered on an abandoned ship and since been put in a museum that happens to be located on Moral Island. So this leads Ash and the gang to want to go check out the Orange League trophy so that Ash can get a sneak peek at what he could potentially win. And they decide to go there the next morning. They should have decided to go there at night though, as someone else had the idea to go there at night when the museum was quiet and entirely empty. These people were none other than Team Rocket, who proceeded to rope in through the window. They analyzed the numerous artifacts and paintings in the museum before coming across what they were looking for, the Orange League trophy. They wanted the Orange League trophy as they believed that they could give it to Giovanni and he could sell it for a lot of money, and therefore he would give them a promotion as a reward. Meowth then put on his glasses as he read the museum's manual, which revealed that there was in fact a lot of lasers that would appear to protect the trophy if he tried to get it from in front. So this led Team Rocket to plan to have James snipe it from above, with Jessie and Meowth lifting him up with a rope. James swiftly grabs the trophy and rushes out with Jessie and Meowth, who declare that they were going to hold a celebration to celebrate actually having a successful plan for once. James falls while they were running away, however, and this fall results in a huge imprint in the soil of both his body and the trophy. The next morning, as Ash and the gang arrived at the museum as planned, this imprint in the soil would serve as a massive clue in Officer Jenny's now ongoing investigation of the heist of the trophy. When Ash and the gang arrived, they were immediately surprised to see such a huge crowd of people gathered around the museum, and went to go question the nearby Officer Jenny why there were so many people, where she revealed the fact that the heist happened, and the Orange League trophy was stolen as a result, stating how aside from the imprint in the soil, the only other clue were some footprints. With the trophy gone, Ash and the gang now have no reason to stay at the museum, so they become depressed and decide to just go back to Lapras so that they can begin their journey to the next island, where hopefully something actually interesting would happen. However, due to Ash being so angry while he was walking, he manages to trip on none other than James, who was in a bush, with Jessie and Meowth. Ash and the gang immediately look over into the bush and spot Team Rocket, who were asleep from having the massive celebration for stealing the trophy. When Team Rocket wake up, they immediately start talking about this, not knowing that Ash and the gang were watching them, and this means that they had just revealed the fact that they were behind the heist. Though they were embarrassed by this, they still had to do their motto. They couldn't just immediately try and run away and escape. No, it wouldn't be Team Rocket if they didn't do their motto. But they only get through half of it before even they realize that they should probably run before Ash and the gang told Officer Jenny, and that's what they proceed to do as they continue their motto while running. They run down to the harbor where they see a Seadra boat and decide to use it to make their getaway. Yeah, that's right, it wasn't originally theirs. That's why it wasn't a Magikarp sub. They haven't betrayed the Magikarp sub, guys, don't worry. But with it not being theirs, they didn't originally realize that it was a paddle boat, and they thought it was a motor boat. So much to their dismay, they realized that they still had to paddle, just like with the Magikarp sub. Even as they paddled, they couldn't lose Ash and the gang though, as they trailed them best they could, now using Lapras to go across the water. After pedaling for a decent amount of time, they eventually stop when they come across a whole bunch of fog, and get scared because of it, and they get even more frightened when an abandoned ship appears out of nowhere. They get over their fears and climb aboard though, as they were more scared of going to jail, and thought that they could use this abandoned ship as a hideout to potentially escape from the incoming Ash and the gang. As they explore the ship, James comments how everything about it just screams a horror movie vibe. And this instantly freaks Team Rocket out, as they realize that there could perhaps be ghosts on board if it was this creepy. Come on, Team Rocket, no fucking way. Anyways, these wimps then huddle together in fear that there may actually be fucking ghosts, and as if on cue, a ghost appears behind them, a cloaked white figure. Of course. But anyways, Team Rocket obviously run away in fear, fucking petrified, but they're so scared that they aren't watching where they're going, so they end up running into a hole in the middle of the ship. How ironic, they fell into a hole trap. Anyways, this hole brings them to a lower level. And if you're wondering how they fell through a hole, it was because the ship is so old that it just was like fucking destroyed, so there were a lot of holes. After all this, Ash and the gang had finally made it to the area with the fog, and encountered the ship as well. They also spot Team Rocket's empty Seadra boat, and surmise from that Team Rocket must have went aboard the abandoned ship, so they decide to go on and check it out, much to Misty's dismay, as she was terrified. Sure enough, as soon as they get on the ship, Misty starts shivering in fear, and begins complaining that they were probably being watched. Ash and Tracy deny this, but as if on cue, one of the ship's sails then falls and almost hits Misty, and she gets so frightened by this that she drops Togepi out of her arms, and unfortunately, Pikachu, although he tries, isn't able to grab Togepi before it goes falling down the same hole in the ship that Team Rocket had fallen down. Ash and the gang peer down the hole, but it's literally pitch black, so they can't see anything, so they decide to jump down and search for Togepi, even Misty, jumping down the hole. Even after minutes of searching, they cannot find Togepi anywhere. As we then cut to a scene of Togepi walking into a random room on the ship, where the door was already open, even though there should have been no way for that door to have been open. It must have been the work of the ghosts. Or was it though? Because the ghosts were actually with Team Rocket right now, as when they were trying to find their way out of the hole, Jessie felt a tap on her shoulder and immediately accused James of trying to hit her or something, therefore hitting him back with her large-ass hammer. But James rebuttals that it was not him who tapped her. She then turns around and sees the ghost. It was in fact there. They immediately turn around to go run the other way away from the ghost, when suddenly a second ghost, or white hooded figure, whatever you want to call it, appears and corners them from both sides. The ghosts wanted James' bag, which had the trophy in it, and they were not going to let it go, as even though Meowth and Jessie were essentially playing tug-of-war with James in the middle and the ghosts on the other side, the ghosts managed to win, as one ghost continued to pull on James, while the other licked Meowth and Jessie. The Pokemon move Lick was the ghost of Pokemon. This lick knocked Jessie and Meowth out, so they could no longer fight over James, allowing the ghosts to grab the trophy and fly away, leaving Jessie and Meowth, as well as James, who had passed out by this point, unconscious on the ground. The ghosts then make their way to the room where Togepi was currently in, the one that had the strange open door, which they were responsible for opening, as it was usually their room, and they just thought that they would always keep the door open, you know? Meanwhile, Ash and the gang were still looking for Togepi, and Tracy had sent out his Meryl so that it could use its ears to listen for Togepi. It eventually managed to pick up Togepi's sound, and led Ash and the gang to Togepi's room. But they didn't see Togepi at first. They only saw a huge-ass shadow. This frightened them, but their fright was immediately turned to relief as it was revealed that the shadow belonged to Togepi. Misty immediately ran up to hug Togepi, but she was stopped as their happiness turned to fright once again. It was the two ghosts, who were still in the room. Misty immediately takes action to defend Togepi by sending out her Staryu, which unmasks the white sheets over these ghosts, and it's revealed that they were actually Ghastly and Haunter. So technically they were still ghosts, just ghost Pokemon, and that explains why they could use Pokemon attacks. But this makes me realize, why are people shocked that ghosts exist when there's ghost-type Pokemon? What? Ash immediately scans the Haunter and Ghastly using his Pokedex, indicating he didn't remember that he already fucking met them back in that Pokemon mansion. Remember that shit? He obviously didn't remember them, because when the Haunter goes to lunge at Togepi, he assumes that it's an attack, so he sends out Bulbasaur to attack the Haunter and Ghastly. But it's revealed that they weren't actually going to attack Togepi, they wanted to play with it. You should have knew this, Ash, as the Haunter and Ghastly wanted to play with you before. Thankfully, Ash and the gang do eventually realize this, as they see how happy Togepi was to be playing, and Ash recalls his Bulbasaur. Misty then questions why the ghost Pokemon were on the ship in the first place, as they then see the trophy that they had stolen back from James. This immediately distracts Misty from her initial question, as Ash and the gang try and grab it so that they can give it back to the museum, but then Haunter and Ghastly jump in the way. For some reason, they really wanted this goddamn trophy. So did Team Rocket, though, who had magically become conscious again, and were now in the room with Ash and the gang and the ghosts. Okay, obviously not magically, but the point is, James then threw out his Victory Bell in an attempt to attack the ghost, but all Victory Bell did was eat him. Just kidding, it actually chased Meowth instead this time. And on top of that, since Meowth was easily able to run away, Victory Bell actually decided to attack for once, as it attacked the Ghastly with its Leaf Storm. While it did this, Jessie sent out her Arbok and had it attack as well, but due to them being ghosts, all of the physical attacks that Victory Bell and Arbok were using were not making any physical contact. The Ghastly then used a Nightshade to knock Victory Bell out in a single hit, and Tracy was inspired by this to the point where he decided to draw a sketch of it, much to Ash's frustration. Really, dude, you're drawing a sketch right now? You're finally drawing a sketch that isn't a girl and it's right now? With Victory Bell down, Haunter focused on Arbok, using Confuse Ray, which made Arbok confused and attacked Team Rocket. This knocks Jessie and James unconscious yet again, but Meowth is just barely still awake, but trapped underneath Arbok. It tries its best to escape, but before it can, it then becomes possessed by both Haunter and Ghastly. They were going to use Meowth's talking abilities to explain to Ash and the gang why they wanted the trophy so bad, and why they shouldn't take it from them. Haunter then proceeds to create an illusion and bring Ash and the gang inside, so that they can see the explanation unfold in the past with their own eyes. Essentially, the trophy had belonged to the Haunter and Ghastly's original owner, who was both an Orange League champion and a highly respected tradesman who would use the boat to do a whole bunch of trades with people all over the world. But then one day, as he was doing one of these trades, a massive storm struck, killing him and severely damaging the boat in the process, sinking it down to the bottom of the ocean. With their owner dead, the Haunter and Ghastly saw it as their responsibility to watch over the trophy that he had left behind, and they did so for 300 years, until just recently, when the trophy was uncovered by all those researchers from the museum and placed in the museum. Ghastly and Haunter wanted to get the trophy back, so they used their ghostly powers to rise the ship from above the bottom of the sea, and that's why it suddenly showed up for Team Rocket and Ash and the gang to board. Despite the wild reveal that they had just witnessed, Ash was still the most curious about how good Haunter and Ghastly's owner was in battle, if he was able to become an Orange League champion. Haunter and Ghastly then proceeded to show a demonstration of how good their trainer really was, by showing his final match that won him the Orange League. It was a battle between the man and the Ghastly versus a random Beedrill, and the Ghastly used a singular Nightshade to knock out the Beedrill and therefore win the battle, winning their owner the trophy. After hearing the story, Ash and the gang agree to let the Haunter and Ghastly keep the trophy, much to their delight. The Haunter and Ghastly then unpossess Meowth, not needing him anymore, but this turned out to be a bit of a mistake, as Meowth then wakes Jessie and James up, and they try their best to steal the trophy yet again. But thankfully their efforts are useless, as Pikachu just uses a Thunderbolt. This severely weakens Team Rocket, and then Haunter sends them blasting off with a Nightshade of its own. Ghastly and Haunter then request that Ash and the gang leave, and they oblige happily, as they get on their Lapras and set off toward the next island, as they watch in the sky as Haunter and Ghastly fly it to parts unknown. Now, I don't know why they didn't try and fly the ship to a new location beforehand, as opposed to just staying underwater the whole time, but hey, they were going now, and that's what matters. They had the trophy, and they were now free to do whatever they wanted.